Once upon a time, in a land far away, not so far away, maybe a long time ago, maybe not so long ago, there lived a merchant and his wife, and they lived happily. The merchant would collect goods from overseas lands and sell them at his local markets. Then he'd use that money to collect local goods and then take them on his boat overseas and trade them in markets across the seas. And one day it came time for him to fill his boat and across the seas to do his markets across the shore. But before he left, he said to his wife, "Wife, I'm about to go on a long journey." He said, "What can I bring you back to make you happy?" And his wife said to the young merchant, she said, "Husband, I have everything I could ever need to be happy here. We have a good home, we have a good house, we have all the food I could wish for." But she goes, "If you really want to make me happy, you know what? Bring me back a marvelous marvel and a wondrous wonder." And the young merchant said, "Say no more. I'll find what to see what I can do, and I'll bring one back for you. A marvelous marvel and a wondrous wonder." So off he sets to the docks. He goes to his boat and he fills it up with the local goods. He's got a boat brimming with local treasures, amazing wares. He's got a crew of good workmen, and they jump on the boat and they sail across the sea, across the third sea, across the ninth sea, across the fifth sea, and finally they land at their destination. They unload the boat and they set up market, and he's doing so well. He's selling all his wares, and at the end of his business day, he wanders around town. He's looking for this marvelous marvel and a wondrous wonder. And so far, no luck. So he keeps selling his wares. Finally, after a few days, the load that he brought on his boat is completely sold. He's got a pocket full of gold. He's bought lots of local goods for cheap that he can take back home and sell for more for trade back at home. But he still hasn't found a marvelous marvel and a wondrous wonder. So he goes to a local inn to drown his sorrows. And he's sitting in the corner drinking. And this old man notices him there. He comes up and he says, "What's... Young traveller, why are you so glum? You've got a pocket full of money, you've got a ship full of wares, you're totally successful. Why have you got such a glum face?" The young merchant says to the old man, he goes, I promised my wife a marvellous marvel and a wondrous wonder, and I haven't been able to find one." And the old man leans in, he's like, "You should have spoken to me earlier." So he goes, "Come back to my house, I'll show you something." So first, they continue to drink. They have a lot of drinks. They get copiously drunk, and then eventually the old man drags the young merchant back to his house. And he instructs him to sit at the dinner table. He says, "Sit there and watch this." And the old man opens the window, and he sticks his head out the window and he yells out, "Goose, come inside." And then this goose jumps up and jumps in the windowsill and comes inside. And he pulls out the tray from the oven and he puts it on the table. He says, "Goose, get in the pan." And the goose jumps into the pan. And he says, "Goose, lie down." Goose lies down. He puts the pan into the oven, closes it. The thing starts cooking. He leaves it go for an hour, 20 minutes, 180 degrees Celsius. Pulls it out. This amazing goose roast, the most amazing goose roast you could ever imagine. The merchant and him start to eat, but the old man puts a handkerchief on the table. He says, "When you eat, don't throw the bones under the table. Be sure to take all the bones and put them on this handkerchief in the middle of the table where we can see them." So the young merchant agrees, and they eat this delicious roast goose. And as instructed, he puts all the bones on the table. When they've finished, full, drunk, very happy, the old man picks up the handkerchief with all the bones inside it. He shakes it and he says, "Goose, get up and go outside." And then the goose jumps out of this handkerchief and then runs out the window again. And the young merchant is like, "That is truly a wondrous wonder and a marvelous marvel." He goes, "I must have it. How much do you want it for it?" And the old man chuckles and charges him some ludicrous price, very overpriced goose. Anyway, the merchant buys it. He's got the money for it. So now, pocket full of money, boat full of wares. He's got the marvelous marvel and wondrous wonder. Very happy. Jumps back on the boat, across the ninth sea, across the fifth sea, across the second sea, back to homelands. So he gets home, starts unloading the boat. But while that's happening, he gets his men to work and he goes inside to his wife. He says, "Wife, I've got something to show you." And she's like, "What is it? What have you found?" So he opens the window. He says, "Watch this." He says, "Goose, come inside." Goose jumps up on the windowsill, comes inside. Pulls the oven tray out of the oven, puts it on the table. He says, "Goose, get in the tray." The goose jumps in the tray. He says, "Goose, lie down." The goose lies down in the oven tray. The young merchant puts the oven tray into the oven with the goose on it, cooks it for an hour and a half, 180 degrees Celsius, and out comes this amazing goose roast. And him and his wife feast on it. Same thing he says to her. He says, "When we're eating," he said, "don't throw the bones under the table. Make sure you put the bones on this handkerchief on top of the table." So the wife does as instructed. And they eat this amazing, phenomenal goose roast, and they put the bones on the table. When it's finished, the young merchant picks up the handkerchief with the bones, shakes it, and says, "Goose, get up and go outside." And the goose jumps out of the handkerchief and goes outside. And the wife is like, "That is truly a marvellous marvel and a wondrous wonder. With this goose, we'll never have to pay for a roast again, and we'll have the most amazing roast goose every day of our lives. This is absolutely phenomenal. Thank you." They hug. She's very grateful and happy. The merchant's very happy that he's completed his wife's wish. So after this, that day, the merchant goes off to work in the markets, and he starts selling his wares. And while the merchant's at work, the wife has a lover, and she thinks, "Oh, I want to show my lover this magical goose." So she invites her lover over, and she says to the lover, "Watch this." So she opens the window and says, "Goose, get up and come inside." And the goose jumps up and comes in the window. And then she pulls out the pan from the tray and puts it on the table and says, "Goose, get in the pan." But for some reason, the goose doesn't get in the pan. She yells again, "Goose, get in the pan." The goose just stands there. After a few goes of this, the wife's starting to get a bit pissed off, so she gets the pan and she smacks the goose over the head with the oven pan. But when she does this, the pan sticks to the goose's head, and the merchant's wife's hand sticks to the pan. And she's struggling, she doesn't know what's happening. Then the goose starts running around the room and it's dragging her behind it. She's stuck to the pan stuck to the goose. Her lover is concerned of what's going on. He tries to help. When he tries to help, he gets stuck to her. Now we've got the goose running around the kitchen with the pan stuck to its head, and the pan stuck to the merchant's wife, and the merchant's wife stuck to her lover. Eventually, the goose runs out into the street, and everybody that sees this commotion comes to try and help. But everybody who tries to help gets stuck, and there's this huge throng of people stuck to the merchant's wife's lover and the merchant's wife and the pan who's stuck to this magical goose. Eventually, this weird, gluey mechanism finds its way into the marketplace, and the merchant sees some commotion. He recognizes his wife over there, so he goes to see what's happening. And then he looks and he sees the goose and the pan and his wife and the lover and all the people, and he realizes what's happening about the affair. And he says to his wife, "Wife, confess everything now, or you'll be stuck like this forever." So the wife agrees and she confesses. She tells him about the unspoken love affair, and as soon as she speaks, everybody becomes unstuck. Everybody's free, and the goose is free as well. So the husband, the young merchant, gives the lover a good hiding, bashes him to teach him a lesson. And then he goes home and he takes his wife and he puts her over his knee and he gives her a spanking. With every spank he says, "Here is your marvellous marvel, and here is your wondrous wonder." And that's a nice Russian fairy tale that we found in an old Russian fairy tale book.